We are Candor Talk Live, the new progressive raw talk show discussing current hot political and social topics. The host is Dicey, www.candortalk.com.
Well, I'm not a crook.
All right. Good evening. Thank you for joining Candor Talk Live, and I'm your host, Sylvia, aka Dicey, and I'm just going to get right into it. Today's show is called Trump Knows Impeachment is Looming. Look, if you've noticed this past week, you see Trump doing all kinds of things to distract from the ultimate issue that's at hand, which is this Russia investigation. And people can say, okay, this Russia investigation is kind of getting nauseating. I'm kind of tired of hearing about it. And some parts of it just literally are just not that interesting. But the truth is, Trump knows that the Russia investigation is going to bear fruit. And he's acting upon that. All these things that you're seeing him do, which we're going to discuss herein, is because he knows that Mueller is actually onto him. And the reason why he knows that is because Trump knows what he actually did. Trump knows that he did things that were improper. He knows that he's done things that could land him in a lot of trouble. And he knows that Mueller is finding him on these things. And it's not just that Mueller is probably his investigation is going to bear fruit, but it's also the fact that there's allegations out there that Michael Flynn and Manafort, that they flipped. Then you have this Don Jr. meeting where he's allegedly excited about getting Russian information, and it's not even allegedly. He is excited. From his own email messages, you can see that he wanted this to transpire, and he actually went and met with them. And if you've noticed, Don Jr. hasn't been a loud vocal voice at all. He's been real quiet ever since because he knows that his ass is also in trouble. Then you have the allegations that Mueller might already have Donald Trump's tax returns. And if that's true, then that means Mueller might be onto some information and evidence that shows maybe some kind of Russian relationship that was improper or some kind of money laundering or something else, or who knows. And then you hear that there's subpoenas that are going out. There's also a grand jury. So then all of a sudden, all these things are happening in the background. And then you see Trump basically in the front maneuvering to secure his base. That's what he's doing right now. He is attempting to secure his base. Don't let these antics that he's throwing out there, all these antics of Trump, do not let them fool you. This is deliberate maneuvering. This is tactical maneuvering right now. Because if you heard him this week, all of a sudden he decides that he's going to pardon Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Then he decides again after a few weeks ago or maybe a month ago that he was going to ban transgender people from serving in the military. He decides now he's going to send a memo to go ahead and do that. And then simultaneously, he blames the GOP for nothing that he had promised during his campaign. None of it is getting done. He is an utter failure. And there is no dispute as to whether or not he's a failure. I mean, if you look at his 100-day plan, you look at it, and you look at what he's actually done, none of it coincides. This man has not been able to accomplish any of the stuff that he promised his base. There is no wall that's being built. Mexico is definitely sure as hell not paying for it. Then there is repeal and replace Obamacare. Obamacare is still the law of the land, just so everybody knows. Obamacare is still the law of the land. So that didn't happen. Then he promises them that he's going to get rid of DACA. DACA is still here. So, I mean, there's so many things we can go on and on and on about the things that he promised. He just has not been able to deliver. And what is happening is that he is now doing things that are deliberately intended to get his base to continue to stick with him. And I'm going to play some videos, I'm going to play some videos to give you some context to the things that he's done this week. Because I'm going to discuss what I think is the purpose of what he's doing right now and why that's important for people to understand Trump and how to approach Donald Trump. Okay, so the first video I'm going to play right now is when he starts talking at his rally, where he just goes completely unhinged at his rally about Sheriff Arpaio. I'm going to play it right now.
So, was Sheriff Joe convicted for doing his job? That's what He should have had a jury, but you know what? I'll make a prediction. I think he's going to be just fine, okay?
Okay, so that was him at his rally, basically making a prediction that Sheriff Joe Arpaio was going to be just fine. Subsequently, he decides he's going to pardon him. That's this past week. Then, the next video is about transgender people enlisted in the military. Here's another video discussing what Trump alleges are the reasons why he doesn't want transgender people to serve in the military.
Donald Trump announced plans last Wednesday to ban transgender folks from serving in the military. He claims that their medical care was too expensive, even though the military spends up to 10 times more on erectile dysfunction medicine than it does on transgender care. However, the very next day it was announced that the current policy would stay in place until further direction was received. CNN reports that the order bars the Department of Defense from using their resources to, quote, provide medical treatment regimens for transgender individuals currently serving in the military.
Okay, so now he has this transgender ban that he puts out this week, basically giving a directive to the Pentagon, I believe, to no longer allow the enlistment of transgender people. I mean, there's no real understanding of what's going to happen to those that are already serving in the military. But then he does that. Then, subsequently, not even subsequently, simultaneously, he's going after Republicans. The Republicans who hold both House and Senate, okay, and all these governorships, and also all of these state houses, etc. This is who he's going after now, Republicans. But not all the Republicans everywhere, but he is going after Republicans. He's going after those who are in the power, have the power to literally destroy him, to impeach him and remove him from office. So listen to the White House when they're asked a question about why Donald Trump is attacking Republicans.
Sarah, the president today took to Twitter to criticize Senator Bob Corker, and in just the past month, he's criticized a number of Republican senators. He's criticized Leader McConnell on Twitter, Senator John McCain, Senator Flake, Senator Graham of South Carolina, Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. What is the end game for the president? What does that do for him?
I think it's clear that the end game is for Congress to do its job and actually pass legislation. I think the American people are very frustrated with Congress's lack of action, and for years they've been all talk and no action, and we're looking for them to step up at this point.
Sarah, can you has the president spoken to Gary Cohn about his comments?
Okay, so then they go on to Gary Cohn. But you heard now, the White House is basically saying they're in response to a question about them attacking, Donald Trump attacking Republicans. The response is, we just think that they are ineffective, basically. They're not doing their job. Just imagine what message that sends to Trump's base. Right? That the message he's sending to his base is that it's the Republicans that are no good. It's the Republicans you should actually be mad at, not me. Like I said earlier, do not be fooled by Trump's actions. This is about self-preservation. This has absolutely nothing to do with passion for these particular issues or what Trump actually cares about. Trump doesn't care about anything. Do not be persuaded when you see him do these things. And he does these things because his antics consistently drive the news cycle. But the reason why he is doing these things is the most important thing that we should be focusing on, is why does he do these things? Because we all know that he has no ideological core, that what he does is based on his instincts and what he thinks is in his best interest. It's never about something that he fundamentally believes. This whole populist, I'm a populist and nationalist and, I'm, the leader of the America First movement and stuff like that, that is complete and total nonsense. He believes in none of that. Trump is a globalist to his core. He engages in every single thing that would make a person a globalist. But he'd tell his base and everyone else that he is a nationalist. So the thing is, for you to believe that the things that he's doing right now and those things that he's signing and he's, arguing and alleging, if you're starting to believe those things, then you are literally not paying attention. You have not paid attention this entire time. Trump does things, even though he's erratic, impulsive, unhinged, flippant. I mean, we get all the synonyms. He is just one of those individuals that's so detestable. But even though he is all those things, do not think for 1 minute that this stuff that he's doing right now doesn't have a purpose. The first thing is that he knows that he is likely to get impeached. And he needs to keep that racist base of support. He knows that he has to keep them. Without them, he will get convicted in the Senate. He will be an impeached president. The first in the history of the United States of America. He will be the first president to ever be convicted in the Senate and be fully impeached. And ultimately removed from office. The only reason why he won't be impeached is because that base is part of the Republican base. If Republicans allow that to go forward, if Republicans allow him to be impeached, they will not get reelected. And we all know that everybody in Washington is only concerned about the next election. They have no interest in doing the job. It's all about the antics and theatrics and the politics and pretending, but none of them really have any interest in really doing the job. I mean, not none. Some of them do, but for the most part, it's all about self-preservation. So the thing is, if they think that Donald Trump is a losing deal, then they're going to abandon him and they're going to impeach him. They're going to remove him from office. You have to remember it was Republicans that pushed very heavily for Nixon to resign and to get ghosts. They didn't want him to taint the Republican Party. They wanted him gone. He was a Republican president. Okay, so if they think that he's bad for business, they will abandon him. But right now, he doesn't seem like he's bad for business. So they're not going to abandon him right now. At least not right now. But they will eventually. His approval ratings are shit. So he has to keep that particular base, because if that base gets angry with the GOP is finished. Okay, so that's what he knows. And he knows that the only way that he's going to be able to keep them is he has to be able to show them that he's like them. I'm one of you. So I don't want trans people in the military because you don't want trans people in the military. We're the same. I'm going to pardon Joe Arpaio, a racist sheriff who basically attacked and marginalized and caused severe suffering to Latino people. I'm going to show you that I don't care what he did to those people. They're not one of us. I'm one of you. Because he knows that his agenda is completely toast. He's not going to be able to get anything done. His agenda is dead. The jig is up. The con is over. People now know that you are not capable of getting those things done that you promised. You are not this great businessman that you perpetuated to everybody throughout the campaign season. You are actually a failure. And that is the truth about Donald Trump. And he knows that he's a failure. Look at how he ran his businesses. Why was anyone persuaded that this was going to be the guy that was going to be able to get all these things done in Washington? You saw how erratic of a person he was, and that he was actually erratic of a person he is. And you've seen that erraticism play itself out throughout his presidency. He has passed on his business habits into the White House, in which there's so much turnover rate, the people getting fired all the time. Now Gorka's out, which thank God he's gone, but let's be honest here. I mean, what kind of administration is this? This administration is literally turning over people every single week, if not every other day. I mean, nobody wants to stay in this administration anymore. Even the most racist aspect, a racist wing of his administration doesn't want to stay there anymore, or is being told to get out. Okay, so what does Trump do? He knows that he needs to secure that base. So he starts throwing out all this racist little dog whistles for his base. And this bigotry dog whistles for his base. And everything he has done has been basically through presidential power. It has not been through Congress, because he knows that his agenda in Congress is trash. It's not going anywhere. And honestly, if you continue to attack Republicans, how do you expect them to vote with you and to encourage your agenda? They're going to want to see you not accomplish anything. And then they're going to make it look like it was your fault, that they've tried to do things, but it's very difficult to work with you because you're difficult to work with and you're not trying to push for these things. You hear Republicans lately, and they've been starting to speak up against him. Even today, John McCain, I don't know if it's today or yesterday, he tweeted out that Donald Trump pardoning Joe Arpaio completely negates his law and order rhetoric. And that's paraphrasing. That's not the exact words of the tweet, but that's what he tweeted out. And then you hear Jeff Flake, who Donald Trump has been attacking consistently. Jeff Flake also comes out and he's like, this is just basically, it's just improper, basically was what the tweet was, essentially. Republicans have consistently now started to say, no, we're not just going to let you push us around. You know, we're going to stand up and we're going to come after you. Because they believe that he is toxic for the Republican Party. And because they believe that, Donald Trump knows that they are more likely to impeach him. So what is he doing now? He's starting to go attack the Republicans. He attacks the Republicans because he knows that Republicans, one, have not saved him from the Russia investigation. And to Donald Trump, that he needs pure loyalty. And if you're not going to save him from the Russia investigation, you are the cause of any result of that investigation. Because Donald Trump knows what's going to come out from that investigation because he knows he's guilty as hell. So he knows that he's actually just buying time at this point. And so what he's doing right now is trying to destroy the Republican Party, which I have no problem with him doing that. I mean, I have to be very candid here. I don't care if he destroys the Republican Party. This is what you get. You should have never allowed this imposter to become the president of the United States. You shouldn't have let him run on your party platform when you knew that he wasn't even part of your ideological base. And then you let him come in and rebrand your entire party, take it completely over, hold it completely hostage, and hold everyone else in the country hostage. So I have absolutely no interest in trying to help the Republicans preserve their particular party. But the truth is, what he's doing right now is he's blaming Republicans for everything, because at the end of the day, when all this starts to implode and explode, actually implode, shall I say, when all of this starts to implode, he knows that it's going to be the Republicans that are going to be the cause of his undoing, because they're the only ones right now with the power to do so. So what is he doing right now? He's attacking Republicans so that his base will be angry with Republicans. And that they'll blame Republicans because none of his agenda is going to get done. So he needs to blame Republicans because none of his agenda is going to get done. Blaming Democrats doesn't do anything for his base. His base does not care enough about, they hate Democrats already, but that's not going to change the Democratic base by blaming the Democrats. Everybody knows the Democrats have no power. Donald Trump could literally get everything he done without one single Democrat in Congress. So this cannot be on the Democrats. This is clearly on the Republicans. So what Trump does and says, okay, I'm going to start blaming Republicans for everything, so that when they destroy me, you're going to blame them too. And I mean, he doesn't just do these things because just the Republicans too, and keeping his base, but he also knows that he needs to keep Breitbart at bay, because Breitbart has the power to also help destroy his presidency by consistently throwing out things to the base about Trump. But if Trump starts throwing out these things and say, hey, I'm one of you guys, I'm just like you, so keep his base believing that he believes in their same agenda, then Breitbart's not really going to have the grounds to go after Trump, because if they do, then it's going to look like you're just bitter because Bannon and Gorka are gone. And this is just Breitbart being shady, and then all of a sudden Trump's base says, fuck you to Breitbart. So Trump is basically trying to maneuver his way out of all of this by keeping his base there so that they can help protect him, because he knows that impeachment is looming. He knows it because he knows that Mueller is onto him. When you start hearing subpoenas are starting to go out, there's a grand jury going out, then you hear that there might be Manafort and Flynn have flipped, and then you hear that he might already have his tax returns. Then you've got Don Jr. and what Don Jr. has done. And then you have all the things that Kushner's done. Kushner was also in that meeting. Donald Trump is not as stupid as people think. He is a stupid person in terms of being an academic. He is a dummy. But he is street smart enough. He has basic, at least some common sense, that he knows that it doesn't matter anymore to try to convince Democrats to like him. It'll never happen. He doesn't need to try to appease the mainstream media. They are going to chastise him anyway. They want him gone. So what he needs to be focused on, more importantly, is to make sure that he keeps the people who can protect him from getting convicted in the Senate, because I do believe that he will be impeached. And I believe that he believes that he will be impeached. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for staying with us. All right, so segment number 2. Okay, something happened today. I saw this tweet. I think it was tweeted yesterday by NBC News, and it offended me so much that I felt like there was something else I wanted to talk today about in terms of social issues, because I told you guys last show that I'm going to be covering a social topic every single show. It's important to me. So I had something else I wanted to discuss, but I decided instead I wanted to discuss this. NBC decides that they're going to tweet out this tweet, and it says, 2 weeks after President Trump declared the opioid crisis a national emergency, he still hasn't taken official action. And then the picture they used was a black woman's hands whose nail polish was crispy. Okay, it looked like she had not done her nails in about 5 weeks. Her hands were ashy, and it looked like she had some kind of needle in her hand. And I guess the image was intended to make it look like the opioid crisis is a black epidemic, not that it was a white epidemic. And that is important because the mainstream media has the ability to spread whatever kind of message they want to millions upon millions of people. They have the platform to be able to do that. And when they spread a message that stereotypes and feeds into prejudices and stereotypes about African Americans, black people, that we are drug addicts and that we love to use drugs. And when you feed into those stereotypes, it just continues to further these racist narratives. And I understand in the age of Trump that people feel so much more emboldened to do certain things. But that imagery, when you put imagery out there, it feeds into a narrative that is actually false. It is not black people who are dying consistently of the opioid crisis. And you don't need to mischaracterize the crisis in order to drag people into this. People aren't going to care more because you have black hands on there and you made it look like it's a black crisis. The truth is, you need to call it what it is. The media has no problem shaming minorities and putting out imagery that makes people believe these bigoted, prejudicial beliefs. And this is allegedly a liberal outlet. It's supposed to be much more progressive in its thinking. And it puts out something that is entirely misleading. And it's offensive. Because no, we are not drug addicts. That is not all we do with our life. I'm sorry to inform you. We aren't just sitting here doing drugs all the time. Majority of us don't even do drugs. So I don't need MSNBC. It's not even MSNBC, it's NBC, but what's the difference, honestly? I don't need them to characterize who I am as a person and who we are as people. And I don't want them to pretend as though this epidemic is a black thing, consistent with all the stereotypes people have about black people and the drug use and the drug wars and all this other stuff that's all supposed to be black people. Let's be very clear about this. Name the black company that is that creates and owns these pharmaceutical companies that makes these drugs. Name the black people who are owning these planes and boats and all these large cargo mechanisms to be able to bring all these drugs into the country. When in the world did black people have that kind of power to be able to do those kind of things? Black people don't have that kind of money. We don't have those kind of resources. Those drugs were created by those people who have the power to be able to create them, who have the power to be able to bring them in to the United States of America. And without those mechanisms, there's no way black people are able to do that. So shame on you, NBC, for trying to pretend as though this epidemic is a black thing. It's not a black thing. It is a white thing. And it shouldn't have made a difference whether it was white or black, because people are actually dying because of these drugs. So when you try to make it or try to minimize it by making it into something that it is not, you are actually doing damage to the cause, because instead of people focusing on the fact that Donald Trump has not done anything after promising he was going to do something about it, people are focusing on the fact that you decided that you were going to mischaracterize the crisis. Shame on you. And that's why people say fake news. And people get mad when they hear fake news. But sometimes, mainstream media, you are fake news. And you perpetuate stereotypes. And you have to work on that. Because the problem for you that you have now is there is something called social media. You decided to put it on social media. And people now have the capability of scrutinizing the things that you do. And they knew, if you look at the comments under NBC's tweet, people knew that NBC had gone way too far using this image. And people knew that it was discriminatory and prejudicial, and I dare say racist. So I was looking at it and said, is this Breitbart? Is this Fox News? I don't even think they would be as reckless to put an image like that on there because they know that they would be immediately accused of racism. NBC, maybe you think because you're a liberal outlet, allegedly a liberal outlet, that you won't be accused of it because how could we be? We align more with the common folk. No, you do not. When you do things like that, we got you. We saw you. And I'm telling you right now, let me see NBC do that again. I'm going to write them an official letter and let them know. And I'm going to publicize it too. Because I've had enough of these people doing these kind of things because it does damage to the black community. But it also does damage to those people's families who are actual victims of this disease. It's a real disease and there needs to be something done about it. So don't change the narrative by trying to make it a black issue. And I'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. All right, so then now the last and final segment. I'm trying to make these shows 30 minutes, but man, sometimes there's just so much to talk about, and I just want to get some things out, and I need to make sure that I say them, and then I go over in certain segments, and I tell myself, oh my God, I'm going to stop, but then I realize, you know what, no, because I have more things I want to say. So anyway, this last segment is on conservative narratives. Look, I said that I'm going to talk about conservative narratives because they push and perpetuate a lot of these false narratives that create these divides between liberals and conservatives and make every issue about the hatred of liberals and the hatred of, Democrats as opposed to the issues that matter. For example, there's this guy, he calls himself Prison Planet. His name is Paul Joseph Watson. He's like an executive editor for the psychotic website called InfoWars. And he's constantly putting out just basically racist propaganda, but he pretends as though it's not racism. He's just trying to show that the liberalism has fake narratives. So he puts out this tweet and he says, not the Onion. The eclipse is racist because not many black people live along its path. Yes, really. Okay, so basically what he's trying to do here is to minimize what racism is about by making a joke about people claiming that the eclipse is racist. Okay, now, it is so interesting to me that he would put something like that out there because it's somehow supposed to be indicative of what racism is. I mean, what's the purpose of doing this? Because you want to make it seem like racism is a joke. It doesn't actually exist because you trivialize the situation by putting out an article or a tweet that says people are actually not even calling something that we can't even control, like the eclipse, racist. There's no real purpose of putting those things out there other than to minimize racism. And that's what this new age of conservatism is. To act as though racism doesn't exist, and it's just a myth, it's an illusion, and everybody that believes it is just crazy. And then you put out articles like this. And so then when people hear someone say, oh, this is racist, they're like, what a joke. Yeah, because the eclipse was racist too, right? Wasn't the eclipse racist? This is the kind of stuff that they do. And that's why you got to call them out on it every single time. And I'm going to be calling them out every single show. This is bullshit. Racism does exist. We saw that in Charlottesville. So this tweet is trash. Okay, so then we have another one, Breitbart TV. He says, this is a guy named Mark Stein. He says, the left is making an organized attempt to say, if you don't vote Democrat, you're a Nazi. I haven't seen one thing, not even one thing that said, if you don't vote for the Democrats, you're a Nazi. I haven't even seen one thing. This is the first time I've ever even heard it. And this is because Breitbart TV decided to put it out. I haven't heard one Democrat ever say that. No, what people probably believe is that if you still support Trump, you probably believe in these Nazi ideology. That's what people probably believe. Now, if people do understand, 2018 has nothing to do with Trump. Trump is not up for re-election in 2018. That is going to be the GOP base, and the GOP Congress. And the GOP Congress, I haven't heard anybody saying that they believe that they are actually Nazis or support Nazi ideology. I haven't heard that at all after Charlottesville. So I have no idea why you would put a tweet out like that. And where is this Mark Stein? Where is he getting this evidence from? Where's the organized attempt? Where is it? No, what people are actually doing are calling out actual Nazis. And the reason why you're calling out Nazis is because Nazis actually went out there and marched. And the reason why you know that there were Nazis that were marching because they actually had swastikas and they were saying things like "Hail Trump" and all this other. So Jews will not replace us. I mean, I'm sorry, but it wasn't that hard to figure that out. It's pretty easy. Clearly, that's the reason why people are condemning Nazism, because they don't like Nazis. But no one is saying that no one is organizing together as a Democrat to say, if you don't vote for a Democrat, you're a Nazi. They just make that up out of thin air, and they put it out there to the mainstream media, to the mainstream, and then the mainstream all of a sudden believes it. And that's why I'm going to call it out, because that is dog shit. That never happened. I have never seen it, and I would have seen it if it happened. It didn't happen. Now there's another tweet by the Daily Wire, which I like some of their articles sometimes. They do have some good articles sometimes, but sometimes they just put out shit. And this one is, meet Odie, the uterus, an emoji for Planned Parenthood. Okay, so they just wanted to make jokes about Planned Parenthood, and they put them out, and then they make Planned Parenthood look like it's just a complete and total joke, that it's just a crazy organization that people shouldn't even take seriously. And that's the reason why they do it, because it just gives their base something to laugh at, and then they just make fun of it instead of realizing how important Planned Parenthood actually really is and what they actually really do. And the thing is, and now you just minimize what they believe is a leftist organization. If Planned Parenthood was preserving babies, I don't think that they would be talking so much about Planned Parenthood. So these kind of tweets, they just put them out because they just want the base to start laughing at the left. Oh, look at the left. They're so stupid. Look at meet Odie, the uterus. You know what I mean? Like, they just want to make fun of the left all the time. It's literally, that's all they do. They just consistently make fun of the left and do things that minimize the left agenda. It's not really based on policy necessarily. It's just, let's just make fun of the left, or let's just lie about the left, because it's just everything is about fighting the left. So this is just a stupid tweet. And then the last one I'm going to talk about is Greg Gutfeld. He says he's one of those anchors on Fox News, just one of those other just ridiculous anchors. He's just a ridiculous person, generally speaking. If you listen to him and you think that he has any kind of basis or any kind of knowledge, I mean, you should re-examine your understanding of comprehension. But anyway, he says, the CNN panel, everyone is in disbelief, upset, angry. Translation, mission accomplished. So all you care about is the fact, so no matter what Trump does, even if it's offensive or even if what he did is just repulsive, it's as long as it made CNN upset, as long as it made people angry and it put the alleged left in its place, made them upset, then we accomplished what we need to do. That's all that matters. This is what I continuously say. It does not matter to them whether it's right or wrong. It just matters, is it left or right? So when people start saying leftist identitarian politics and all this stuff, identity politics and all this other stuff, they try to make it seem like it's the left that's causing all this friction. It's because of the way the left engages in dialogue, the way the left puts out narratives. They make it seem like it's the left that causes these things. But no, it's the right, that all they want to do, as opposed to putting out policy, is to fight the left. And honestly, they're a joke. And that is the reason why their party is failing, because all they ever spent their time doing was fighting President Obama, fighting Democrats, and now they can't get any agenda done. So what do? Let's just continue to fight the left. Let's just continue to do that, because that all makes complete and total sense, to continue to fight the left, because at least then our ignorant base will be happy. All right, that does it for me today, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you so much for tuning in. And I went over the 30 minutes, but like I told you, if I have something to say, I'm going to say it. So anyway, I'll be back here next Saturday at 11 p.m. Tune in to Candor Talk Live. And also go to our website, sylviaexpress.com. We have some great articles on there. We talk about all the stuff that's going on. We also have a show on Wednesdays that we post on sylviaexpress.com. It's just 15 minutes, but it's basically a rundown of the things that have happened this week and just my opinion on the things that happened this week. And if you like my opinion, you don't have to like my opinion. But if you do like my opinion, then you should come listen to the Wednesday show. It'll be on sylviaexpress.com, and that's SYLVIAEXPRESS.com. So you can go and listen to the show right there. You can also, like I said, go read our articles. They're pretty good. And every single Friday, we're going to be posting what's called Trump Lamentations. It's Trump Voter Lamentations, which is basically Trump voters who are regretting voting for Trump. So we're going to be gathering. We're going to be verifying, too, that these are actually real conservatives, people who supported Trump at one point. We posted an article on Sylvia Express this week, and you will see a ton of people that are regretting voting for Trump. And we're going to do that every single Friday, so we can hope that we bring some cheer to everybody about this horrific administration. So check out all those things. Go to sylviaexpress.com. Check us out. Just check our sign up so you can continue to get notices about things that we're going to be posting. So anyway, I thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and I will see you again next Saturday at 11 p.m. Have a good one.